From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
And it is one of the most important afternoons LA we had to look for all this month. The February? No, the September. Here we go. 2022 FOMC meeting for the Federal Reserve. And they met minutes ago. They had their announcement. The two-day meeting has concluded. Jay Powell has spoken. I'll have his breaking news comments minutes ago. He did 75 basis points as expected, but the other guidance is huge. He gave huge guidance on where this economy is going, where the Federal Reserve is going, where your labor is going, and also where this economy is going. And I'll be going over all of it today in this big, bold, brand new Afternoons LA, broadcasted and taped right after the Federal Reserve's statements. This is a breaking news report made right after the Federal Reserve came out and made those announcements. The latest is that this inflation is going to be with us for a while. 2025 was a major shocker in the announcement today. The Federal Reserve signaling that they're going to have to do those interest rate spikes, not into this next year, but into several years to go. I'll have all the details you need to know across the board. This is why you have to get a 4-stimulus check in every U.S. day. Viewers are getting monster checks on this channel. One viewer getting $30,000 last week, bringing her grand total to $170,000. It's happening all the time. Viewers over $100,000 on an average over the last few weeks. We're going to go over those incredible checks, 14 categories that yield about 300 checks and about $300,000. Passed by the President of the United States, passed by Congress. We're going to go over all that in this recording. Plus, we'll be looking into that October 13th date. That is when we learn how much your benefits are going up. This is you if you're on SSI SSDI Social Security for all benefits. Plus, I have one of the most important and the most fascinating analysis comments I've seen this month so far from the former head of TD Ameritrade. He told you what he sees in the flow of money by the retail consumer, you and I, in advance of those comments from the Federal Reserve today. I love this analysis. We've never seen this before. It's perhaps the most fascinating thing you're going to hear separate parts from Where's My Bacon? And we're going to go over all that in today's recording from the shores of Santa Monica, California. I'm excited you're here. Let's get to the breaking news. It's September 21, 2022. The Federal Reserve has spoken, and I have it all right for you right now on this breaking news report. And good afternoon, everybody. A beautiful day. And here we go. The Federal Reserve has spoken, and we'll have the latest details on their comments. They're huge. This is the week we had waited for this news. The Federal Reserve wrapping their two-day September FOMC meeting to announce everything about that interest rate spike for the month of September, but also giving you a lot of guidance. And I have all the breaking news starting right now. How are you? I hope you're having a beautiful day. And yes, I usually wear red on Sunday, but perhaps I should wear it today for the bleeding. It's just one of those days. The Federal Reserve met today, the September meeting. They did not meet in the month of August. For the September meeting of the FOMC to determine how much to raise interest rate spikes. 75 basis point was the announcement. No surprise there. I've been telling you that would happen over the last few months. But there was a lot of other surprises in what they did today. My takeaway, before we go into the specifics, is I loved this FOMC meeting. I loved it. Why? Because I like clarity. I like people to tell me what's going on. I like explanation. I like lots of detail. I like lots of data. And they really gave it to you. They really gave you more data, more detail, more explanation than I think we've ever seen from them in recent months. I think someone got to them and said, you need to make this a little bit clearer what's going on. And I'll go over all those details starting right now. First, they believe that inflation will continue into 2024. In the opening comments, it said 2025, 2024. So they believe that inflation is not going to continue into next year like I had warned over the last few months that it's going to continue into 2024 and that they're going to have to do those interest rate spikes into 2024. How significant an announcement is this? Wall Street, as we've been talking about for the last few months, was betting on the Federal Reserve was going to do September as an interest rate spike and then call it quits by October, leave it alone, and that would be the end of those interest rate spikes. And I said, no, they're likely to do interest rate spikes the whole rest this year and then into the middle of next year. Well, even I was too conservative on that. The Federal Reserve today, minutes ago, said that they see inflation of 2%, their target again, not being reached this year, not being reached next year. Oh boy. So they don't even see it being reached when I thought they could maybe get it by middle of next year. No, they said they're not going to get to 2% until 2024. Wow. So that basically means they're not going to reach 2% next year, but 2024. And that also means they're going to do those interest rate spikes, not just this year, not just next year, but the year thereafter. This is also significant what I talked about earlier this year. I was the first American broadcaster to report the U.S. economy would suffer recession. And I said the recession would be a 2-year recession starting in 2023. Well, it happened earlier, and we already are in a recession. But at the time I said it would go to 2023 to 2024. Now we know it will be a 2-year recession because they will be doing those interest rate spikes into 2024. Now, here is where I found the report and the announcement. There was two parts. First, the Federal Reserve determination, and then Jay Powell's comments shortly thereafter. I have them all in this recording. I found it just great, really helpful, very insightful. He said he sees robust gains in job creation, but he believes that supply chain and imbalances in demand has caused inflation. And then he says inflation is still there because of food and energy prices. Now, during the question and answers, he went more into this, and I loved his explanation. First, he said that the reason we went into the spiked inflation, of course, was imbalances and also supply chain disruption. You and I already knew this. I told you this earlier this year. I said Jay Powell's not going to get inflation down quickly because it's caused by supply chain disruption, which is the inability to get the product from the factory or the farm to you quickly and cheaply, or like it was before COVID. And it's also being caused by higher energy prices. Now, those energy prices have come down, but what about the supply chain disruption? It's interesting. So I said, I think early this week, that I thought the supply chain disruption was really easing, going away. He said the following today. He said, for purposes of some of the commodity prices, which is the lumber and the wheat and the grain, he said they have come back down to those pre-COVID levels almost. So he says that has eased. That may have almost eradicated itself. But for the supply chain disruption, which is the shipping and the by truck or by barge, they have improved dramatically, he says, but they still have more room for improvement. And then he had really this great comment, which is, when asked would his need for interest rate spikes be done sooner than 2024, he said yes, if the things causing inflation ease up, and they likely will, which he said then was supply chain disruption, caused by two factors. One, COVID, and two, Vladimir Putin. He says COVID is not a normal economic event, obviously, and that caused supply chain disruption. And a war in Ukraine is not a normal economic event, and that also caused supply chain disruption, namely wheat and grain. And he says as those events start to ease, and he says obviously they're going to go away. Obviously they're going to go away. The question is when. When they go away, supply chain disruption in the United States, caused by COVID, supply chain disruption for us international, products that come to us internationally, caused by Vladimir Putin, as those ease and improve, then inflation will start to go away. And his need for those interest rate spikes will dissipate because inflation will fall quicker. Very, very great, detailed explanation. I love it. I really love it. Then he really saw the higher prices of food and energy as really the core of the problem causing that inflationary situation across the board. They talked a lot about the dot plot and also the terminal rate, which I won't cover on this channel, which is a little bit too elaborate. But they're basically looking at data on a trajectory. And when they're looking at the data on a trajectory, they said that they're going meeting by meeting. So they are not projecting out too far in advance, but they gave you some other data in this report today that was fascinating. When considering unemployment, will more people become unemployed? Yes, obviously. This is not a surprise. I said this before, but today they gave us numbers. Officials now believe that the unemployment rate, currently at 3.7%, will grow to 4.4%. It will grow as the hurt of these interest rate spikes happen. They said that. That's no surprise, but they actually gave us numbers today. Then, for the gross national product, how much the U.S. economy grows, They said that it will no longer grow to a long-term rate of 1.8 or a 1.7 seen in the month of June, but will slow to a 0.2 in 2022. Now, we have had negative quarters of GDP growth, but he's basically saying no growth for 2022. There you go, 0.2 by the end of the year. When you exclude food and energy costs for that inflationary data, like that CPI released last week, that's huge for your benefits. We'll go over that in a second. He sees that dropping from 4.5 this year to, he sees it dropping to 4.5 by the end of this year compared to 4.6 right now. Oh, baby. So that is your benefits. That is you if you're on SSI and SSDI, your COLA. He doesn't see it really changing. So when you exclude food and energy, you're looking at the core CPI, he does not see it changing from 4.6 right now to 4.5 by the end of the year. Basically the same number. Wow. That is a breaking news report. And then what about 2025? 2.1. So he sees in 40 years from now, 3 years from now, a magic drop across the board. Then other data that's at issue, of course, was the dot plot, which showed that they have to really go off of the data month to month. The Federal Reserve made very clear they're going off the data month to month. Folks, here's a personal note. I launched this channel in March of 2020. I launched this channel in March of 2020 because Americans were hurting because of COVID. You needed money for EIDL grants and PPPs and PUAs and FPUCs. You needed assistance, and I helped you find that money. I've been helping you ever since, and we didn't know what was going to happen. We thought maybe this channel was going to be around for 2 months after I'd launched in March. And then COVID went on longer, so I start to find more money for you. I found you 2 years of money. Then as we started to come out of COVID, we had a problem, and it was called recession, and it was called inflation. Inflation first hit, and then recession hit. And now, guess what happened? Well, Jay Powell says, Ellie, I think you need to stay around longer. And Jay Powell basically mentioned me in the press conference. He said, that kid with the purple shirt, you need to stay around longer because we're going to have inflation above our target rate of 2% into 2024. So you can't leave until at least 2024. So there you go. I guess the Federal Reserve Chairman, yes, told me to stay my butt to the seat to 2024. I will not move until 2024. I guess I'm not going anywhere because we're going to have financial strain on this economy until then. And until the financial strain is gone, I'm not allowed to leave, says Jay Powell. I wish I could talk to Sir Loin that way. It doesn't barely work. Now, one of the comments I love that we got earlier today, before Jay Powell spoke, was from the former head of TD Ameritrade, which is one of the original online platforms to buy stocks and bonds. And he said, I've never heard this before, I find this perhaps the most fascinating thing you've heard this week, that there is an enormous sum of cash on the sidelines that the retail consumer, you, I, is not putting that cash anywhere, keeping it under the mattress, keep it in the bank. You are not buying stocks, you're not buying bonds, you're not buying real estate, you're not buying cars, you're keeping cash on the side. I love this because that shows that people are starting to get laser tuned. This shows that perhaps people will not fall off the financial cliff. That shows that people perhaps were watching this channel and not watching the channels that told you to buy Dogecoin in the month of July and now have lost a shirt to buy, Cardano or something crazy like that. It shows that people have left cash on the side because they believe that they're not going to put the money into assets because the assets will devalue. And guess how wonderful they feel today? Imagine we actually have a graphic for that. We actually have a graphic for that. Over the last few months, I said what you need to do to prepare for this recession is increase your stimulus, increase your cash on hand, and remove as much adjustable rate debt. That's what you got to do. And I don't know if I have that graphic on this show or on the evenings, but this is about the financial cliff. This is about the financial cliff. You need to get that apportionment ready for you because ultimately that's what happens. And I'm so excited that Americans have now done that. And the great news is that if you just found this channel and you have not done that, I'm going to get you caught up right now. Because guess what? I got massive stimulus for you. I got massive stimulus for you. How do you do this? You go out in this video, join the channel, become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Then get those incredible checks. What are those incredible checks? Let's go over these tens of thousands of dollars that you're absolutely going to need, and perhaps now you really realize it, because the Federal Reserve is saying that we can have inflation into 2024, and they're going to interest rates spike into 2024, 2025. You need to get this. Here we go. The first three checks, A, B, and C, passed by Congress A, B, and C, passed by the president in the month of March by executive action. There's our guy. He's going to have the graphic there. It is $100,000 passed by the president of the United States in the month of March. And it's huge. Checks A, B, and C, you qualify. Single individual, $75,000 less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, go get it. And if you're on benefits, go get it as well. Then Congress came around and passed a bill about 4 weeks ago that established the next 7 checks, E through K. And since those checks, which brought us to hundreds of checks, I found even more. They're all in the membership newsletter from LALATE 1, LALATE 2, and LALATE 3. The same membership newsletter, same time, Monday through Friday. You go into that membership newsletter, now you get checks A to O. A to O. 14 categories of checks in that membership newsletter. 300 checks, about $300,000. You go right in this video, become a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP, because the Federal Reserve's comments today basically signal that we are at this for a very long time. Now, the reaction to the news, let me tell you what happened to the reaction news. First, stock market didn't really crash upon the news. It was down dramatically yesterday. You saw it on the show. So they sensed 75 basis points. But I got to tell you, if you've been with this channel since June and May, you saw what happened. In June and July, the markets were flat or down 100 points after the Federal Reserve spoke that day. And the next day was when they crashed. So, yeah, you sort of remember these things. It's just like a random thing that came to my mind. I remember these strange nuances. And that is likely because people start to digest and realize, wait a second, the Federal Reserve is going to raise these rates that long? Let's go over the other impacts across the board. Here we go. The 2-year bond. Projection, another projection. I told you so. It's spelled Toldya. I told you so. I told you that the 2-year bond by the end of this month would go to 4%. Today, folks, is at 4%. It's over 4%. That was really quick. I've been saying this since last week. The 2-year bond we watched last week, when that CPI was released on a Tuesday, it was a 3.79-ish. Then it went to about a 3.8 by Thursday. By Friday, it was a 3.9. And I said it's going to go to 4. Yesterday, on Monday, it was about a 3.94, 3.95. And today, it's over 4. It's over 4%. What am I also projecting? I'm projecting the 30-year fixed mortgage in the United States to go from 3% earlier this year, 6% now, to 7%. And I expect that to happen by the end of the year. I fully expect other things to impact as well. If the unemployment is going to get worse, and we know that because Jay Powell also told us that. We also know that the housing data is going to get worse. What do we have on the housing data this week? We had the price cuts growing. We had 19% of homes on the market cutting their prices in the month of September. In the month of August, they're now 25% cut. We're, in my projection, going to see that at 30% by the month of October. We have new home starts down, existing home starts down, and also we have builders' confidence down as well. That's why I got to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. Now, the other part of Jay Powell's comments that's huge for you today, huge for all of us, no one would have saw him saying this, is that the inflation, which is the core inflation, removing the other elements like energy, is likely to stay about the same for the whole rest of this year. That, my friends, is that CPI-W. Yes, the CPI-W that determines how much your benefits go up on October 13th. Can you imagine? It's huge. Let's go over the details. So your CPI-W for the month of July was an 8.7. In the month of August, it was an 8.9. But today, Jay Powell said, you know, when I remove energy costs, I don't see this core CPI moving much. When we excluded food and energy, I expect it to decline to 4.5 by the end of this year. It's currently at 4.6. It's only going down 0.1% by the end of the year. That's 6 months away from now. That's great news for your benefits. Oh, my goodness. Let's go over the details right now. Your benefits are determined by 3 months of data, and they are the CPI-W for the month of July, August, and September. They together determine your COLA. And your COLA is determined by those three numbers and is released on October 13th. The latest details are that CPI-W in July, 8.7, in August, 8.9, and JPOW today, breaking news saying it ain't moving much at all. So, wow, this is making it even easier for us to do this analysis. So over the last week, I've having you jump in the live chat. I've been doing the analysis with you to figure out where would that CPI-W for this month land. Remember, the Federal Reserve just met today. It's the 20th of September. Whatever they did today with that 75 basis point, it's not going to impact. It's not going to impact the CPI-W for this month. It's too late in the month. But now we have the great comments from Jay Powell that explain where that CPI-W may be, because that is removing food and energy about the same. Wow. So let's do this out of order. Over the last week, I've asked you to give me your projection of where you think that CPI-W is. Again, July was 8.7, August was 8.9. I said, write the number, comma, your state on the live chat. Here's my answer based upon what Jay Powell said today, and it is the same answer I gave you all this week. All this week I've been saying 8.9, comma, California. Based upon Jay Powell's comments that core CPI is not moving, I'm still at 8.9, comma, California. So you jump in the live chat as well. Do you think it's going to be 8.9? Do you think it's going to be higher? It's really interesting. It is definitely not going to be like an 8.5 or an 8.4 or an 8.3, because that's not what, according to Jay Powell, it's not happening. So again, it was 8.7 in July. It was 8.9 this last month, and it's likely 8.9 in this month as well. Wow, we'll have more about this tonight on Evening's Live. Jay Powell's making our job easier on this channel, because I really did embrace this wonderful press conference from him that really explained a lot. And I love what he explained with that supply chain disruption, that as it solves itself, supplying the products from the factory to the ports to you in the United States and from overseas to us will correct itself as COVID is a far long memory gone away, and as Putin and his Ukrainian efforts sort of dissipate. Then inflation will ease because supply chain disruption will ease. I love that comment. And I agree with it. Why? Because he said it's first showing itself in the commodities market, which is the lumber. We've seen that. I feature the wood on this channel a lot, where the wood went up early in this year and then came down. It's no longer a thought. There is no longer an elevated wood. But with all this, with inflation, with you and I, into 2 more years, that is why you have to get that 4 stimulus check in every U.S. state. These incredible checks are huge, and viewers are getting them. And let's go over these incredible checks right now. These incredible checks have now 14 categories of 300 checks that yield up to about $300,000. How do you get them? Step 1, you go into this video, become a member. Step 2, you get that incredible newsletter. Here it is again, and apply for those incredible checks. 14 categories. You deserve these incredible amounts of money. You go get them. And then you continue to get more checks thereafter. And yes, as Jay Powell said today, that's the newsletter. There it is right there. As Jay Powell said today, LALATE, you're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to leave to get inflation to 2% in 2024. Okay, so I guess I'm not leaving anywhere, Jay. I appreciate that. I would like to at least a bacon break. But I'm not leaving for 2 more years, according to Jay Powell. So with that, you need to keep on getting stimulus. You don't just get stimulus today and call it a day, because there's 2 more years of trouble with this economy going on. You go into this video, become a member. One of the greatest benefits of becoming a member, of course, is that newsletter. And in that newsletter is or are the worksheets. Here they are. It's a PDF around the 3rd line of the newsletter. You print it out, and what do we learn today? We learned a lot today. Inflation. This is why I'm pulling out the worksheet. You got to really take notes on this one today, because this was a jam-packed broadcast. I told you, one of the most important of the month. Inflation. We learned just minutes ago that Jay Powell says that a target rate of 2% inflation will not be achieved till 2024. So, and he also says that the core inflation, which is the core CPI, which excludes food and energy, is not going to really change more than 0.2%, which is really nothing. It's not even a quarter of a percentage point. It's not going to change by the end of the year. Wow. Next, recession. He did address recession, and I noticed, you may have noticed his verb tense. I wouldn't read too much into it. He said it's likely we may go into recession. You know, I got it. We are in a recession. Why does he say we will go into recession? I know, don't read in too much into it. We are going into recession. There is no way, as one of the interviewers asked, and he had a very a thoughtful answer on this one, as Jay Powell as well, is there's no way to get a soft landing when you're doing interest rate spikes into 2022. Into 2024. There's no way to get soft landed. So we are going to feel recession. Labor, we talked about that as well. Jay Powell, I mean, just so much in this broadcast. I got to remember these numbers because we're going to now have these numbers on this channel for a few days or a few weeks. He said that the unemployment rate will grow from a 3 to a 4. Now, see, I got to memorize all these numbers. Here we go. So the unemployment rate now is 3.7, and he says it will grow to 4.4. I told you, we just learned so much from this guy today. He did a great job, I really do. And then the Federal Reserve. Interest rate spikes. Not just the end of the year. Not just into the middle of next year. Wall Street is betting that this was the final day for the interest rate spikes. Not happening. I said they're going to end maybe by the middle of next year, potentially. Not happening. Now he says it's in 2024. Wow. The next page of the worksheets is a page to keep track of all those incredible checks you're going to apply for. Now let's go over those incredible checks right now. How many checks? 300. Where are they separated? Well, check A, 1 check. Check B and C, each about 80 checks. But with check C, you got 12 places to reach out to get those incredible checks. Then E through O, half of them are many checks, and the other half are each one individual check. Spelling got check A, and Spelling got check C. Lynn Glenn got 12 months of utilities. Another viewer got 12 months of utilities. This is all in the last 30 days. 2 viewers getting 14 months of rent. Then we had 2 viewers out of Florida getting about 80 to 100 checks. And that 1 viewer getting nearly $100,000 from the channel. We've had Lorraine get 150,000 plus. We've had now Johnny get a whopping 45,000 in 3 days. Well, actually 2 days. He started on Monday, he got by Wednesday. Then by Friday, which I guess you can count as 4 days, he got $80,000. Incredible. The next week, he got 50,000 for each of his mom and dad. That was really fast. We have Dragon, who was at 140 and is now at 170,000. It's incredible. Then we now know a lot more about those other pages of the worksheet. We now know about your benefit raises. It's looking really good. And also we know a little bit about gasoline. By the way, gasoline did drop under $90 AAA international price of Brent crude yesterday. It's at about a 90.91 today. I thought it may have dropped based upon the news of Jay Powell's comments today. It actually is relatively unchanged today. Fascinating. But it is actually up compared to 2 days ago where it was at 89. If you're looking at the AAA national average, okay, now this is getting interesting. That was falling 10 cents to 30 cents a day. If you watched yesterday's newsletter and compared it to the prior day's newsletter, it only fell 2 cents. There's the first time I think I've seen on this channel since the drop started, which I think was around July, that it stopped really dropping. Wow, incredible news across the board. Why is it moving? Because the concern of a recession, that there'll be less demand for gasoline. And finally, how much your benefit's going to go up? Some of you just need $5,000, some of you even more. And over a lifetime, tens of thousands of dollars. The Seniors League, they're projecting anywhere from an 8 to a 10% raise being announced. This is a lifetime on October 13th. I'm projecting higher. What do you project? We talk about this a lot. I'm projecting about 11%, but I may be wrong. I may be totally wrong. Maybe it's closer to an 8 or 9. It's incredible. We'll have more about that tonight on Evenings. But in the big second half, we're going to go over more about these incredible checks and how viewers are doing it and how you can do it as well. Big sums of money. Plus, I'll be going back to what we learned today from Jay Powell in really one of the most insightful, data-driven speeches we have heard on this channel in almost 2 months. He brought it, and there's even more to go over in the big second half. Plus, we'll look and see where your money is going and where that valuation's happening. I'll see you back in 60 seconds. This afternoon's LA for a September 21, 2022 continues.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now in a big second half for a beautiful September 21, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Hope you have a beautiful day. Don't forget to join me tonight as the programming continues, a brand new Evenings LALATE at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and continues thereafter. And with that, let's go over those incredible 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. The first 3 are A, B, and C. Passed by the President of the United States by executive action in the month of March, viewers have been getting them ever since by becoming a member. When you become a member under this video, join the channel, LA1, LA2, or LA3, you get that newsletter. And you go down and apply for check A, B, and C. But you're not done there yet. Congress then passed hundreds of checks in E through K, which became a law back in the 4 weeks ago. We're going to go over those checks as well. Since then, I have found more checks, L, M, N, O, P, and Q. They're all in the membership newsletter. And Purple Power continue to pounce and get those incredible checks. Let's go over all those incredible checks right now. These huge checks are for you, and you need to get those incredible checks. The first 3 checks are A, B, and C. And what are they? Well, A is a $6,500 to $12,000 for stimulus check in every U.S. state. Then check B is $15,000 to $80,000. This is the check that the viewers out of Florida got, 80 to 100 checks. Check A is the check that Spelly got. And then check C is for rent, utilities, mortgage, assistance, and more. And this is monster sums of money. Viewers have been getting these incredible sums of money for check C for a long time. This channel has gotten people upwards of $50 million. And that has been predominantly from check C as well. Look at these numbers for rent. Go get some check C. And utilities, we've seen even bigger numbers, 15,000. Then we've seen even bigger numbers for SNAP, $250,000 over 10 years. How about combinations? Nieces are 23,000, then she went to 50,000. Marcus are 32,000, he went to 166,000. And Lorraine, she was at 105, she went to 155. Those incredible checks are all check C. But we got more checks thereafter. Here come the checks from Congress. Check E, passed by Congress in the membership newsletter. In the middle after check C, check E is $7,500 for a car. F, $4,000 for a car. H is an incredible $2,000 for you. I skipped over G. That is 30% off. I is $8,000. J is $8,000. And K is $14,000. My goodness, that is the wonderful E through K. We're not done there yet. Let's go into L and M. L is $100,000 of loan interest-free money. M is $4,000 of free grant money for closing cost assistance, all for you. And then N is perhaps one of the best of all these. I love N. A brand new computer. Wow. A brand new computer, a brand new laptop, a brand new desktop. Which one do you want? Desktop, laptop, or tablet? Oh, $100. Many of these great tablets are less than $100, so this is great news. Plus free internet. Insane. That is Stimulus N on the membership newsletter. O is zero down payment, zero closing costs for the purchase of a brand new home with zero insurance and zero requirement of a credit check. Insane. That is huge. That's wonderful. And then Stimulus P and Q. P is 3% down, and 8 is $8,000 of free money of closing costs. That is for existing homes and also for new homes. Refinance and some more. Wow. When you look at that totality of all those incredible checks, what do we see? Largest check, $100,000. Smallest check, about $8,000 to $10,000. Fastest payout time, well, we had Johnny start on Monday and get $45,000 by Wednesday. That's 2 days of $45,000. Great news. The subject matter, literally something for everything. A car, a brand new refrigerator, a brand new computer, a home repair, a rent bill, a utility bill, a mortgage bill. I got something for every different walk of life. It's all for you. It's only on this channel, and it's LALATE. Number one, you go under this video, join the channel. You can join LA1, LA2, or LA3, doesn't matter. Number two, at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Central, you get the alert from YouTube of a brand new post for the members, and that is the membership newsletter. You go right in, apply for Check A, Check B, and continue throughout the board. And get those incredible sums of money. You deserve those incredible sums of money. And with that, let's go back into what we learned. Was there any surprises from what Jay Powell said today? And was there any differences of what Wall Street thought about it, and also Middle America? First, Middle America. I found, even before Jay Powell spoke today, the comments from that former head of TD Ameritrade, perhaps the most insightful comments I've heard this week from a non-Federal Reserve person. He said, basically, that Americans have never before kept so much cash on hand, meaning that Americans understood there was something wrong with this economy months ago and did not put that cash into stocks or bonds or cars or real estate or cryptocurrency or investments. Or if they had it in there, they got it out because they understood there was something about to happen and it wasn't going to be good. I love his insight. I love this data. It's not analysis, it's data. Then, when asked, did he see any other flows in or out? He said no. People were generally not buying, quote, the dip, that ridiculous expression that came out of sort of Generation X during the COVID years, which absolutely means nothing. It's sort of nonsense. You know, a stock that's supposed to be $100 goes to $90 and you think that's a dip, and then it goes to $70 and they think that's a dip. But just keep on, everything is just a dip. He said no, they didn't buy into that nonsense. Great, I love it. Then he said one of the fastest and largest cash inflows, meaning people did spend money, buy things, this year was, which date do you think it was? Which date do you think it was? It was September 13th. Yes, the day that CPI was released, the day the Consumer Price Index was released for the month of August and the market crashed, that, he said, was one of the biggest days for cash inflows, people buying stuff that day. So he said some people really did want to nibble and buy when they saw that massive crash in the markets on September 13th. But he said overall, it didn't affect the summary number that people staying by the sidelines, waste by the sidelines, not getting themselves wet or drenched in a downward spiraling, devaluing economy. I love it. So let's now go back to Jay Powell. What did Jay Powell really do differently today? Why did he do it differently? And will it impact things left and right? He really was more specific. He gave us an indication of why we have inflation. He gave us indication of why inflation may correct itself. He gave us indication, and I'm talking about not interest rates issue, I'm talking about supply chain disruption. He went into the supply chain disruption and what may solve the supply chain disruption. He also went into the reaction of what people are doing to what the Federal Reserve is acting on. And also he gave us guidance of month to month. There was a lot in there. And the totality of it is they are data driven at the Federal Reserve, just like you and I. They're not going to project out too far because they think things change. And those things that items could change, which are just data surprises, are supply chain disruption and Vladimir Putin. Those are the two major issues that can change, and they're not really economic issues. And when they do, they will affect the economy. And so he says we're not projecting out too far across the board. Finally, if you look at today's conference, today's Federal Reserve meeting, today's statements from Jay Powell, and you compare them to someone else's comments from last Sunday and the middle of last week, you sort of think to yourself and say, what was he thinking? The guy? Joseph Biden. Last Sunday in 60 Minutes, the President of the United States was asked about whether there's inflation, and he says he's not worried about inflation. Not worried about inflation. And then when asked about year-to-date inflation, when year-to-date inflation is up, we have individual items like airline fares up 33% year-to-date, he cited weekly data that it was not up that much in the last month. Today, the counter opposite. Jay Powell says there is inflation, and inflation is not going to come down to a target of where it should be until 2024. I got to tell you, this is why the President of the United States should not be talking about economics. He should not, if he doesn't understand economics, or if he does, he should just not talk about it, because in less than 2 days after he said he's not worried about inflation, that there really is no inflation, the person who knows inflation better than anyone else, because it's their job to do it, is the Federal Reserve, came out and said, yeah, there's inflation, and we'll be battling it for 2 more years. Yeah. That is why you have to go with the data and lead with the data. Meantime, I want to applaud you. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. You know what I want to really applaud you about? 2 days ago, I raised the following to you, that this channel has brought back temporarily, as a test, under the videos, the opportunity for you to post comments. But I said, I only want to see certain comments, really basically comments about the economy, your money, your stimulus, recession, inflation, price of goods, jobs. I want to see those comments. I want to see you engaged on the subject matter. What do you think about the milk? What do you think about the gasoline? What do you think about the food prices? And I don't care what you say, so long as you're engaged in the subject matter. One person had a great comment yesterday, and I posted it. He said, where are you from? I'm here from San Marco, California. Where are you from? Because I said, I was talking about how much groceries have gone up. He said, where I'm from, the groceries have gone up 30%. I need to shop at your market. I loved it, because that's what I want to see, the engagement. I want you to be engaged on the price of the items, the recession, the inflation, the labor. And suddenly, out of nowhere, perhaps as I was, disgruntled under my breath, they're not doing this. You suddenly started to do it. You suddenly started to do it a lot, really well. And I really applaud you. Do it in the live chat, do it under the comments of this video, and they will post. Be engaged in these subject matters, because we have a long way ahead. And with that, join me next on Evenings LALATE. It's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's a big broadcast tonight. We'll have the latest details and more reaction from the markets. The markets are closed at the time of this recording. Yes, this recording for Afternoons LALATE is usually taped early in the day. I held the taping of this recording till after Jay Powell spoke, and to after the FOMC meeting. So this is taped right minutes after it concluded. So the markets have closed. The 2-year bond is at that 4%. We'll look at some of the other items that trade over a 24-hour period, like cryptocurrency and oil and similar on evenings as well. From the shores of San Marco, California, become a member. Get those incredible sums of money. Get that incredible stimulus. You deserve it. Pounce, Purple Hawks. Pounce, continue to do what you're doing. You are doing it so well. God bless you. From the shores of San Marco, California, thank you for joining me on a big, bold, beautiful afternoons. See you at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for evenings.